Hi guys, welcome back to Living the Gandy Life. Today I'm going to be giving you guys an update on all things full-time RV life and just everything that's kind of been playing out in us trying to figure out how to live in a camper full-time. So I've got good news and I've got bad news. And what are they, everyone usually wants to hear the good news first. So we're going to start with the good news. So the first thing that I want to share with you guys is we've kind of figured out a few things. So one of the things is you have sewer hoses when you have a camper. And so one of our big things was, when I gave you the tour of the camper, you have our basement, which is the kind of all of the storage in the front of our rig that's below where I am right now. And we have to have these sewer hoses and you have to have a place to store them. And these sewer hoses obviously aren't, you always wear gloves when you're handling them, and they're probably not going to have the best smell and, just all the things that kind of go along with a sewer hose. We did not want to store them in our basement. And so along with all of the other things, all of the kids' toys and the tools and the chairs and all the outdoor stuff. So Joel kind of came up with a way to store everything outside of the rig and underneath using some, I don't even know what they are, some hollow poles that we can store all of our sewer hoses in underneath, and they're attached to the bottom of our rig so that we can travel with them underneath and kind of away from everything else. So that was good news. Like, we kind of were just playing around, trial and error, watched some other YouTube videos, found their advice to be helpful, and then kind of concocted our own idea of a way to store them. So we can kind of highlight that in another video if anyone is interested of how we store them. So the second thing that we have done is we removed the glass door to our shower. So if you are familiar with glass doors, or if you've ever had them, they usually have like a little track that the doors slide in. And if you looked at it, you just knew that the water was just going to get stuck and be stagnant in there. It's going to be hard to clean. It was going to get gross and grimy. And I really didn't want to have to deal with that. The other thing is when you had the door in and completely closed, obviously these bathrooms are not big. So when they're closed, it made the bathroom feel even more confined. So what we did was go ahead and remove the glass doors from our rig, which in an added bonus was that it lost a lot of extra weight. So we're going to replace it with a bar that will hold just your standard shower curtain, and the shower bar that we actually have, it'll extend out, and then when you're not in use, you can actually push it back in. We've seen those in campers before and thought it would be really helpful for expanding the shower when you're in the shower, and then expanding the bathroom when you're in the bathroom. So it's twofold. It kind of opens up the bathroom, and we also lost a little bit of weight. When Joel took that out of the shower, he said it was really, really heavy. So just another added bonus, because you are limited to how much weight you can put in the rig. So that's an added bonus to take something else out while we're putting all these things in and adding weight to it as well. Another thing that we have done is that we've gone around and used a label maker. Yeah, we're kind of nerdy like that, but we used a label maker to label all of our lights and switches and tanks and different things like that. There were switches galore in this thing, and they're not labeled. And so every time you would do something, you're like, I have no idea what this switch is going to do, but here goes nothing. And so we weren't sure what we were doing half the time. So we went around, we played with all the switches, played with all of the sewer contraptions, and labeled everything so that from now on we know when we're flipping a switch what it's actually going to do. Another thing that we've done is that we have made a couple of trips to random stores. We've been to IKEA and Target and Walmart and dollar stores looking for all of these little storage containers, because you have to be very strategic in where you're putting your things. And in addition to that, when you're driving around, all of those things shift. So if you can have things in containers, when you're driving, that they're not going to fall over, or when you open the cabinets, they're not going to fall out, the more the better. So we've done a lot of measurements and a lot of going to different stores, trying different things out, lots of returns as well, but finding lots of organization, like tubbies and different things like that, to keep all of our things in and all the cabinets, and just keep them, tucked safe in, so when we're traveling, they're not going to shift around. And lastly, we are creating plans for the garage area for the kids. So we've not formally done anything, still in the planning phase. But I will say it's just nice to start creating a plan, knowing that we're heading in the direction, or in a certain direction rather. But, we're just trying not to get stressed about certain things, knowing, we've got some time to figure things out. We've got some time to play around with things. And also knowing that, like, okay, if we don't get all of these things done before our, maiden voyage, that's okay. Like, we can still live in it. We can, if the floors aren't redone yet, that's okay. If the beds aren't exactly how we want them yet, that's okay. We have time. We can make things livable and function in them without having all of the end goal changes done in it yet. So we're just taking it one day at a time, trying to be patient, knowing that we can't get everything done all at once, but just trying to prioritize with certain things and, go from there. All right. So that was the good news. But with good news, there also comes bad news. And so there is some bad news. And actually, you know what? When I started planning for this video, I've actually already had some bad news turn into relatively good news. So I can kind of put a little spin on it as I share just kind of some of the stuff that we've gone through. But, we went into this. We had seen other people say, expect the unexpected, plan for things to break, plan for things to go wrong. And so even though we were buying a new camper, we knew that things were going to go wrong. We knew we were going to have issues. We knew there were going to be, things that break. And so we just have kind of walked in knowing that and expecting that. And I think when you walk in with that attitude, you aren't surprised when those things happen. And so we are just taking it in stride. We are not like getting super stressed about things, and have just really felt at peace about a lot of things, have been very prayerful about all of these things, knowing that the Lord is just watching us in all the decisions that we're making. And I attribute that peace to Him, because we are just not getting stressed about all of these things that are seemingly going wrong. So I'll start with the first one. First things first, this bed has the RV mattress on it. It is a no-go. It is like a 6-inch rock hard slab of concrete. Other than the fact that you can tell that it is bent up in the seating position is the only indication that it's not concrete. Joel and I thought, you know what, before we go and order a new mattress, we should really give it a try. We should try and sleep in it, or sleep on it, and make sure that, it actually is not going to work. There's no sense in going and buying a new mattress if this one's going to work. It didn't take us long. It took us one night to figure out, nope, that's not going to work. We need a new mattress. At one point, we're like, I don't think we're actually sinking into the mattress at all. It literally felt like our heads were lower than our bodies. It was the most absurd thing. It was very hard. If you love a hard mattress, then, go buy an RV mattress. We were not super ready for that, and so we have ordered a new mattress. We have not received it yet, but we are waiting on one. So that was just one of the first things. We kind of anticipated that we were going to need to do that. We hear most people replace them, and so we had that on on this idea that we were going to, but thought we should at least give it a try. And sure enough, we were right. We needed a new mattress. So we have also had a couple of like screws and things break here and there. And it was, it's one of those things like, screw broke, we got to fix this. So go and search for another screw or do this or that. Things that you're like, it's annoying. But again, we walked into this knowing and expecting things to break. And that's exactly what happened. So we have just kind of flown by the seat of our pants, and we're just fixing things as we go. They have mostly been minor things, so it's not completely overwhelming, but I mean, it's just par for the course. We knew that this was going to happen. So in order to pull something this big, we have a really big rig that's really heavy and really long. We knew that we needed a dually truck. And so we had our eyes set on getting a Ford F350, and we really struggled to find anything. It was struggling to find anything. We were originally looking at used models, and the used models that had pretty high level of miles and a pretty high price for what you were getting. And so we ended up finding a new truck that was a lower series, meaning, you know, you have all of these different models that go from really few bells and whistles to all of the bells and whistles. And we were looking at a truck that had like almost 0 to no bells and whistles. It was cheaper to get a new truck than to get a used truck that had a lot of miles but more bells and whistles that we really didn't feel that we needed. So we ended up landing on getting a new Ford F-350. Well, if you paid attention or knew anything about the truck market, honestly, I didn't before all of this. I wouldn't have known. But there was a chip shortage. So there were tons and tons of these Ford trucks sitting at Kentucky Motor Speedway, basically ready to go to market, except that they were missing a computer chip. So they were all backlogged and nobody was getting these trucks. And I mean, which was also driving up the price of all of the used trucks. So we decided we would order one. We ordered it sight unseen. We had test driven some other models, but that was what we had decided on. And so we waited over a month in order to get our truck. So, you know, how did we get this camper? We were able to have a family friend help us get our camper onto my parents' property. So that was such a blessing. But this camper has been sitting here for a while and we really didn't even have a truck to pull it anywhere because we were waiting on our truck. But just a couple of days ago, we were able to get our truck. So one less box to check off on this little journey and adventure of ours. So we now have our truck, which leads us to the next problem or the next issue that we had. We had ordered a hitch. So you need a hitch to put in the bed of your truck to pull your camper. Well, we bought one like a month and a half ago. It was all coming, it was ordered, it was great, and it comes in 2 boxes. We got box 2 of 2. Waited and waited, played phone tag, email tag with the seller, and come to find out, they couldn't even find box 1 of 2. It was just gone, missing. And so we had to initiate a return of box 2 of 2 we have. They said, okay, well, we'll just, you know, you send that piece back and we'll get another order for you going for a new hitch. But the problem is they're all on back order and we don't know when we're going to get the hitches. That's a problem. We can't pull our camper without a hitch. So we said, no thanks, we're just gonna start looking for another one. So about 5 days ago, we finally ordered another hitch, and that was going to be one of the problems or one of the issues we're having. But today, right before I decided to tape this video, we got our hitch. Guess what? 2 boxes were there waiting for us, and so we have our hitch, and Joel is currently installing it as I tape this video. So fingers crossed that there are no hiccups and no issues with this hitch, and all works according to plan. All right. So this leads me to our last bad news issue. So when I mentioned that we were going through and we were being nerdy and putting labels on all of our switches and tanks and all of the just different things that are along with our camper, Joel was out playing around with our release valves for our black and gray tanks. So in the campers, you have a black tank that's for your toilet waste and water, and you have a gray tank that comes from like your shower or your sinks, or like for ours, a washer that will where you send the water from your washer. So you have these 2 different tanks, and in the system in our camper, there are 2 different levers, but they weren't labeled. So this one afternoon, Joel was playing around trying to figure out, okay, well, which one goes to black, which one goes to gray, which ones are pulling from each one. You kind of would think that maybe that they would have a handbook for this, or like a blueprint that would show you. I think they should definitely come up with one of these, because we didn't know. And so we're saying, okay, we're playing around. Like, this sink goes to this tank, this toilet goes to this tank, the kitchen sink goes to this tank, the washer goes to this tank. So we're playing all around. We can see in our levels that this our rear tank, so we have some tanks in the front and we have tanks in the back. And our rear gray tank is like a third full. We've run sinks, we've been putting water in to just kind of check the levels, see where they are. And also, so when we release the valve, we're making sure that the water's coming out in the appropriate place. So again, it's about a third full. They pull the release valve, nothing happens. No water drains, and we can't figure it out. So we are trying to diagnose this issue for like a day and a half, over and over and over. Could it be this? Could it be this? Why isn't it draining? If I pull this, does it come out this one? You know, what could the issue be? We still don't know. So we finally we have to call not only our dealer who sent it, or where we bought our rig from, but also the maker of the rig. So it's made by Heartland. It's a Heartland Cyclone, so we're calling Heartland. And ultimately, we've got to take our rig back to our dealer so that they can troubleshoot this. So we have not even had our camper for a month, and they're thinking that maybe the drain was not properly, removed so that water can exit out of the tank. Like, they have a cutout for the hole that goes down the drain, and they're thinking maybe that just didn't get caught and didn't get cut out. So, bummer. We have to take our brand new rig that tank has never even been used back to the seller, or our dealer where we bought our rig, and have them figure out what the issue is and fix it. Of course, it's all under warranty. We haven't even had it for a hot minute, so that's all great. And honestly, Joel and I have been talking about, are we frustrated? Of course we are. Should a brand new thing like this have that issue? Of course not. But we honestly just have peace about it. We're not super worked up about it. Again, we knew things were going to go wrong, but honestly, this isn't a minor issue. We're not able to drain our tanks. So it's kind of a big issue. We have actually had to, again, here's another piece of bad news. We had to cancel our first reservations for our first trip, which is a huge bummer. So our plans have to change. And we're just learning to be flexible. We knew that this was going to happen when we set sail on this adventure. We knew things were going to go wrong. Did not maybe anticipate them this early, but nonetheless, this is the cards that we were dealt. We are learning to be flexible, to deal with these one day at a time, and just, trust the Lord that, maybe there is a reason. There's some reason that we are meant to delay what we're doing, or that we need to be here for a longer period. Whatever the case is, the Lord's guiding our steps. We're just following and listening. So just trying to trust the Lord even through our own frustrations, and just trusting that this is all part of a bigger plan that we don't really know or understand at this time. All right, guys, that's it. That's the good news and the bad news. That's the update. That's where we are. We still have lots to do, and obviously we kind of have to push the brakes on our plans, because we've got to get our rig back to our dealer so that they can fix the issue. And hopefully it's not a big issue, and hopefully it doesn't take long. They're originally saying 7 to 10 days that it could be there. So that's one of the non-glamorous things of when you decide to live full-time in an RV. Our house is essentially leaving us for a week. So we've got to figure out, what we need to pull out of here. And we're just going to be bunking up with my parents for a little bit longer, because our house on wheels is going somewhere else and we can't stay with it. So again, it's not all going to be super exciting getting to see all these glamorous places. Of course, that will be part of it. But there are going to be bumps in the road, and we just have to learn to be flexible and kind of take it as it comes. So I hope you guys enjoyed just a little bit of glimpse into the good news and the bad news that we're kind of facing in our life as we go through this adventure. If you guys have any questions, as always, drop them below. We'll be happy to answer them. If you have any advice for anything, if you've gone through any of these experiences, if you've ever had a tank not drain, give us some advice. If we could avoid having to take this back to the dealer, that would be fantastic. And as always, guys, have a super blessed day.